Hello, everyone. My name is David Benjamin. I'm an assistant professor here at GSAPP, and I'm going to introduce tonight's speaker. A few important facts to know off the bat about our speaker tonight, Trong Nghia. He uses bamboo in almost every project. He was recently featured in an episode of Al Jazeera's Rebel Architecture titled Greening the City. And he was also recently named one of CNN's Ones to Watch. As one of the most inspiring practices of his generation, Trong Nhia's approach is seemingly simple. To share a quote from him about his design process, he says, sometimes we just ask the question, how many green areas, how many big trees can we give back to the earth when we design a building? But the result is not so simple, and it's actually very exquisite. Buildings and an architecture that weave together ideas, materials, and form to offer meaningful alternatives to questions of urban density and congestion. Working with light, wind, water, and natural, local, and usually inexpensive materials, as well as with trees, of course, he creates a radical and fresh new approach to what it means to build sustainably. Far from performance checkmarks, his work recasts the relationship between architecture, cities, and environment in very new and inspiring ways. For example, in House of Trees, completed in 2014 in Ho Chi Minh City, each small structure becomes a planting pot scaled up to hold a tree at its top. The result is an intimate composition whose simple geometric forms are rendered complex by the textured horizontal striations of the facades and the play in scale around the shared courtyard. For the Vietnam Pavilion in the 2015 World Expo in Milan, he created a forest of 46 trees that function as bioclimatic devices for cooling and shading while creating the experience of being inside a bamboo forest. For his farming kindergarten, completed in 2013, a three-lobed sloping preschool situated next to a shoe factory, he creates a prototype of sustainable space for education in a tropical climate. The building is designed for the children of factory workers in a very tight budget. The continuous green roof provides food and also an agricultural experience to Vietnamese children, as well as a safe outdoor playground. This commitment to an architecture that is at once beautiful, playful, and multi-layered and groundbreaking offers new possibilities for environmental and social engagement in very powerful ways. While working on increasingly large, complex, and original institutional buildings, such as the administrative building of FPT University, which has a checkerboard facade infiltrated with trees and greenery, or the ABB Bank building, which takes its starting cue from classical Albertian proportions but fuses them with nature. He maintains a dedication not only to building sustainably, but building beautifully, and also to building ethically sustainable structures. He's designed an S2 house, a low-cost housing solution for Vietnam's low-income population, and also a low-cost house built for as little as $3,200 US. The basics are that he studied at the University of Tokyo before returning to Vietnam to establish Trong Nghia Architects in 2006, and the firm now employs over 60 people with offices in Ho Chi Minh City and Hanoi, often partnering with Wind and Water House JSC, a construction company specializing in green building construction. His awards are numerous, including the World Architecture Festival Award, the ArcAsia Award, WAN 21 for 21 Award, the Future Arc Green Leadership Award, and in 2002, he was selected as Architect of the Year in Vietnam. Please join me in welcoming Trong Nghia.
Thank you very much to invite me here. This is the first time I come to America. Then a little bit long trip from Vietnam. It takes around 24 hours from Vietnam to Hong Kong and Hong Kong to New York. And I came here today at 1 a.m. And I go around the New York tour today, and it was amazing. So let me start my presentation. The theme is Green Our Earth, and let me explain you about the background. This is the Ho Chi Minh City picture. And you can see here in Ho Chi Minh City we have 0.7 square meter per person of greenery, and in Hanoi around 1 square meter per person. In Beijing we have like this, and Singapore with 60, and Hong Kong is 105 square meter per person. And in Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi almost the lowest greenery space for the per person. And because of that, we have population problem, flood, overheat, and inactive people. And our policy is make the city like this, is to this image. And let me explain you from the small scale of the building to the big scale building of our efforts to make the city more greenery. Here's a house for tree, complete in 2014. This designed for inactive person, so that's why every block is a bit separate. Then, for example, the back room here and the WC just connect even 1 meter, but they have to go out to interact with the nature. And this made by bamboo concrete. And we have the courtyards between the middle of the concrete block makes the outdoor living. And we use the almost brick, concrete, and low-cost material. And house for tree not is one house, but a series of house. We use this like a device to make like a small park for the city. Here in Nha Trang, we also make a small park on the top of the house, and one more in Ho Chi Minh City, and here Ho Chi Minh City too, and Ho Chi Minh City, and here in Hanoi, and the last one in Ho Chi Minh City one. And we are now to make like every small house like a pocket park in the city. And here you can see here the stacking greenhouse and the stone house, and we do the renovation in Hanoi. We do 3 steps, and next is here is a house for tree. The first project we plan big tree on the top of the house, and the concept is really simple. The original forest look like this, and we put it off, and we design a house like this. And here is the Ho Chi Minh City, close to Singapore, and we don't have the winter in Ho Chi Minh City, the tropical climate. And here is the site, super high density area in Ho Chi Minh City. This area almost no green in Tân Binh district. And the site around like this. And the house with narrow street come inside really in the middle of the steel roof around. The approach is from here. And we create 5 boxes up and the courtyards. Here is a library, meditation room, kitchen, dining, and bathroom. And next is a backroom, and here is a store, and more is a small backroom we have. And we have many small courtyards with different character. Dining room and library facing with the outdoor living room like this. And here is the back room. Inside we make by brick. And the top of the panorama room from the view from there, from here. And here, as I said, we even very close. Here is with 2 boxes, 2 meter, but we designed this for inactive person. Then that's why we need them to go. For example, if they want to go to the toilet, they need to go outside, even raining, raining, or even so they have to contact with the nature, and then from really negative now very positive, and now getting a normal. And here's the rooftop tree. We have 5 boxes with different height, and very deep soil for the ficus tree. Not only we make the tree on top, but the rooftop work at a water reserve. And here's the bamboo texture. We have a lot of bamboo in Vietnam. Then we make the bamboo concrete formwork like this. Here is the process to make bamboo formwork. Break the bamboo like this and put into the formwork, and we have the formwork like this, and pouring the concrete inside. Then here is the tree layout. The concrete, waterproofing, granite layer, filter, and sand and soil, and yes, and here the ficus tree. And here's this ficus tree in Vietnam is really low cost, just $200 per 1 tree. And then if you plant 10, then $2,000, including the fee to plant on this. It's the sunshade device. I think this is really good for that. And this also, we make this kind of finishing to keep the water. And here is the environment idea. Like we design look like a really solid box, but in fact we have small window like this to make the ventilation inside the room. And the house tree total cost is $156,000. It look like this at night. Now the tree is cover all of the house already. It go like here. Then we have the outdoor living under tree shadow. And here is the first project of us to make the green for the city. Is called a stacking green. Then in Vietnam, the typical house is like tube house with 4 meter wide and 20 meter deep, and even sometimes 4 meter and 10 meter only. So what the side of us here, And what we do is we make the green facade and green roof and green cover all of the building. So our images look like this. And the house built in 2012. Then now both of house is are built already. Here, this house and this house. We make the green pot, and the system is really simple: green facade, green roof, and green facade here too. And then everywhere in the house, we can feel green space around. Like this, the back room at the ground floor, you can see the green, and here living room, dining room with the green too, and master bedroom. And here is study, but it can be small bedroom because we have the bath and the toilet here too. And here is the master bedroom. Even the size really narrow, but we designed that it look like a big space. Here is the ground floor bedroom. Also have the courtyards behind the house. And here is the living room, a rooftop garden. And this is from this view. And here is the living room and dining room. And here is the master bedroom here. And here is the study. It can be small or bedroom too. And we do the facade detail like this. The tree pot for the plant tree, and we have the steel grating and the glass door here to make the double skin. We think in tropical climate without winter, the double skin should be green and glass, not glass like in the other country. And here again, the plan is bedroom, living, dining room, the master bedroom, and study and the bedroom. And here is the worship. Here the courtyards with the staircase behind. And here is the bathroom at the master bedroom. Here the kitchen is in front courtyards. And this environmental concept in crowded city nearby 10 million people is really crowded, and with the sound it can protect the, here is facing with wet side, then it stops sunlight and enable to have the ventilation and stop the noise and many. And here is double skin in tropical way. It should be green and glass, not glass and glass. I think is really a good way to do the green architecture by green, by tree. And we do the simulation when we design this to make to be sure that everywhere in the house with wind. Then after finish, we do the survey, and then everywhere in the house with like really good wind. Then this house almost 100% they don't use air conditioning. The house for tree too. And next is farming kindergarten. This project is look like this, with 500 kids, with a continuous green roof, and we create the courtyards for the like a safe playground, because in Ho Chi Minh we have a lot of motorbike or something like that, so a bit dangerous for them. Ho Chi Minh City here, and the location is in Dong Nai with the Phu Chen Shoe Factory. Then here is the farming kindergarten for the factory children, worker children. They have around 20,000 worker here, and then 3,000 kids. But in Vietnam, they always send the kid to their mom, their grandfather, mother, and then here just 500 children here. Then this a little bit close because it just for the factory worker children. And the concept is provide a safe playground and safe food, and teach the children the importance of agriculture. This shape is fit with the land like this, and just one, and it continue like this to maximize the playground for the children. They can go up, go around, and go back at the same place. Like this. And we, the worker can plant the vegetable on top of this kindergarten for their children, for the food for the children. And they do this like for Saturday or Sunday or something like that to make the farm on the top of the kindergarten. And we have 3 courtyards different. It look like this. In Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, we have 4,200,000 motorbike, and almost no safety playground for the children. That's why we try to maximize the place for them. And the POT space is connect the courtyards together. And corridor. Here is 3 courtyards and connect together by the POT space. Here the entrance. Here the 2 to 3 years old, and here 3 to 4 years old, and here is 4 to 5 years old. And here is the gym and kitchen. Here is 4 to 5 years old, and here is office and a music room. And ceiling height is different, like here is gym and kitchen, just slow down like this, and gym can be like this, and the other, all function is under the green roof. And gym is a bit high ceiling like this. And we designed a small void to enhance the ventilation to the classroom. And here the vertical connection by sloping by staircase or by this. This classroom, 2 classrooms share 1 toilet like this, the toilet here. And we use solar water, green facade on the louver, recycle water from the factory, and the green roof. And same layout, we do the green roof like the house for 3. And we add the people, the consulting in Japan to do the design with that at the beginning to make the side of window ventilation and be sure everywhere in, because this is really low cost. We don't have the budget for the air conditioning, so that's why we designed this for only for the green roof, green facade, ventilation, and no air conditioning. The air conditioning just for the office, like this, and just now the tree cover almost all the facade and just open the. Here's the concrete louver and the tree. And recycle from through factory, we have a huge amount of water and use for the grass, for the farming, for the tree around. And this is really low cost one. It took $1,900,000 US for a really big kindergarten. Like this. And this now already built and used from last year. This building is FPT University. We have a bit narrow land like this and long to make the gateway to the university. And here we design like a pot for the tree, like a house for tree, but a bit different way, like this. And the same concept with house for tree, we do the pot like this. Then next step is put it inside the pot and make it, and then we have the facade like this. It's really easy step. And the structure inside also easy too. It along this one, then just stuck it up. Then we have, and because the gate here into this university, then it a bit off, and we dormitory here though, so we make the like exercise course for the student go and back like this. Here we have the site, the land here. Then the university is big like this. Then we just make this one. And now this moment the building now at university is look like this. And we do the green building. Green mean tree. We plant the tree, and the facade covered by tree for shading. And this is really fast construction. Now it's complete already, and they start to use. And in this one, we do the pot for tree and also the air conditioning machine inside this. Then it's look like this. Here we have the hole for hot air out, not like this. Here look like this. The plan is really easy and flexible. We don't make the wall inside, and they make, in the future they change this, not the classroom but the office. But now they use this for the classroom, and they make the wall by cement bowl, and we make the garden on top like this. And every window we have the tree to make the shadow. And then if in Vietnam, in the summer, many times the electricity out, then we just open the window with the tree shadow outside, then still work. And we would like to introduce you some bamboo project. This is a wind and water bar in Bình Dương. This with 15-meter span, and then we make this with 48 the frame like this to make it unit, and manufacture at like a factory, and then put it together to make around like the building like this. And we use the rest a piece of bamboo for the lighting, for the chair, for the desk, like this. And here with 48 frame, and we make the leg around to ventilate by window like this. And next challenging of bamboo structure of us is make the the wing with cantilever like this one. Then the span on top is 12 meter with the wing like this. And here also the pure bamboo structure, just the steel joint at the top like this, and by water surround and the greenery, and then we don't use the air conditioning for this space too. In Hanoi, a bit hot sometimes in summer, but the wing is like this. And the difficult is the tension here, and we have like a head to put in top of the two wing, and we have the wire from this to this, and the tension is supported by this one. Okay. And we have the tension to keep it not shake like it, and like a head on top of every structure. And the area for space is between the water and the greenery like this. It works like the nature air conditioning, the wind with the water. And recently we just complete one more bamboo building in Sơn La. In this area is really far away from Hanoi. It take around 7 hours from Hanoi to Sơn La by mountain road. So we try to reduce the material to take from Hanoi to this area. So we use nature and local stone there. Is really low cost, and the bamboo, I always use the bending bamboo, but in this case we have this kind of bamboo in Sơn La, then that's why we use this kind of straight one. And we design it look like a bamboo forest. The most difficult of this is how to realize the building in really far place like this. Then we make the mock-up for the stone, and we make mock-up for the joining here, and we send some worker there to teach the local worker to work together. So it look like this. We reduce the amount of the joint, the detail, and make it. This joint is same with the joint on the floor with the bamboo, and then make like this. And when we make the mock-up, we try to make at the corner for them. People make this, but we ask them to do again and again the corner, and then start to do the real building. It look like this. And this one just finished 1 month ago. It's a Diamond Island community hall in Ho Chi Minh City. We have 2 big pavilion and 6 small ones. Look like this, around by Lotus Pond. And the structure look like this. It really close to the office. I always use the unit, the manufacturer, and put it together. But here we do one by one like this. It like nearby 30-meter span of this is a huge dome. It's like UFO. It's floating like this. The structure like this is bending. It's a bit and then the top like here is coming like this. And then we have like pavilion in the park like this. And this one is Milano Expo. The site is really small, only 800, no, not, yeah, 800 square meter. Then we have the setback, and the problem is the budget is only $2 million US. We have to build this in Milan, the most expensive place. Then is it, in this case, it's not still not bamboo structure, but steel column inside this. But we try to explain about a combination with the tree and using the bamboo material for the pavilion. And then we have like this. We have center steel structure and the bamboo surrounding like this. And we plant the tree here like half for tree, or like the way we are doing with tree to give back the tree for the city, for our earth, like this. And we send there 15 workers to do this in 3 months. And the total budget design and build only $2 million US to do this. And I think I joined the 2010 Shanghai Expo after they built, and after that they destroy almost the pavilion. And then in Milano, I think so too. Then after they built just for 6 months to show and destroy that, then a lot of environmental problem. I think so. Human being is trying like to destroy the nature, destroy everything, and make the building for fun, and then after that destroy destroy that. So what we think something wrong with human being, like they are trying to make something like that, and then destroy huge amount of energy and weight to the that's a big problem. That's why we try to here after this we sell to the other investor to make the restaurant in Milan. Then we try to reuse everything we can, and the building is look like this. The problem of this is we cannot work with the government about the display thing inside. Even we do, and I think the theme of the expo is the energy for life, safe energy and energy for life, something like that. Then I think the pavilion itself is, we try to spread that, but we cannot like work with the government to do inside, because that is a bit complicated system. But we do things like this. The column and the bamboo ceiling. And thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to just, maybe make a few comments and ask a few questions, but then very quickly open to some questions from the audience. But maybe I would just start by noting that almost everything about your presentation was refreshing and startling and, in a way, deceptively simple. even including the length of your presentation, which is, kind of a certain demonstration of the same efficiency that's in your work. And I also wanted to note that I really love that, one could say about your work that you're using architecture, using the idea of making buildings and cities, but using architecture as a secret vehicle or a Trojan horse to just plant more trees in the city, so that architecture becomes, instead of the thing that's, eating the landscape, it's the vehicle for the landscape, and that would alone just kind of be a deceptively simple way of reversing the normal way we think about things. But I don't know, do you have any comment about that?
I think that is the best comment for me. That is really, really, really exactly. We try to convince the client and to use the architecture or the master plan like a way we clean back the city. Because in Vietnam, almost now 75% of children are now inactive. Then the next generation, generation is really problem. Then including my son or my daughter is the same. Then they don't have the place. The birds don't have the tree to live, and we also maybe almost going to die because of pollution and something like that. So we try to use the architecture that is like a good way to do the green the city. Then we do the house only house for tree, like a small park like ADN for the city, and then people try to do together to green the city. Yes.
Yeah, it's great, and I mean, one thing that it makes me think, just to hear you describe the condition of our cities, and show that the graph at the beginning about the amount of green space per cities, it makes me realize that what we're already doing with our cities is an experiment that's never before been tested. I mean, the amount of, to hear you talk about population growth, the density, the lack of fresh air, the lack of green spaces in a city, we've never done this before. We really don't know what this will create for the next generation, and certainly the generation after that, in terms of quality of life, health, exercise, lifestyle. But I wanted to, kind of offer one other observation that occurred to me. I mean, I guess I was thinking about efficiency. And, I think at least in this school and in part of our discussion about architecture here, efficiency has a bad reputation because we think of it in terms of value engineering, in terms of being profit-driven, in terms of being lifeless, and pretty much removing all of the potentially interesting features of a building. But I think your version of efficiency, again, creates this really nice twist or inversion. And we can all of a sudden see in your version that efficiency could really actually produce life instead of being lifeless, that it could be value-driven instead of profit-driven, that it could end up keeping the most interesting features instead of removing the most interesting features. So you say things like the tree is the cheapest sunshade device, and then all of a sudden you get a good thing and another good thing instead of this kind of zero-sum trade-off. You have to give up one good thing to get the other good thing. And your green facade provides shade and cooling and a noise buffer and beauty and psychological benefits to the people inside. And so, you're saying that maybe the way we've been thinking about things, and maybe this is what we a little bit inherit from an engineering quantitative mindset is that, we have to give up something to get something else, or we have to be calculating these numbers all the time. And you're saying, well, maybe we can just reframe something in order to get more, and more. But do you think about that? Do you think about efficiency? Do you think about trade-offs? Or have you reached a different level of design where that isn't even part of your thinking?
I think about how to green back the city, but also the client, they require the most efficient way, like we are building the university. Then how much of electricity, how much they have to spend for the building. And then, but I think the way we are doing now is can do it in low cost, and also really good for the air conditioning or electricity consumption. And also every university in Hanoi now is really narrow space without green. Then this kind of, the university, they have a lot of greenery, then they have different value of the university to talk to the society about their university. Then that's why after this, now we are doing a lot of university with the greenery, and then the different value. And because of the Vietnamese people like Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City, they don't have greenery, so they feel really stressed already. And after they have the house like house for tree, and they feel happy with that. And then I think something is moving, and then we can create the other value for the client, for society, and also for us.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, just to interpret a little, it seems like if you can think of helping to redesign the values of the client or of the society, then you change the scale of measurement. So you don't get trapped in the old version of efficiency where you only had a certain amount, but you can reach a new equation in a way of efficiency. I don't know.
Can you help me translate? Yeah. 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 Giá trị xây dựng thấp ha. I think if I'm doing meditating every day, and then I think if we keep calm, then we know the way how to live harmony with the nature, and the human being also a part of the nature, and every value can be like together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It can be low cost. Yeah. It can be low energy consumption. It can be good for client. It can be good for ourselves too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Of course. I wanted to just ask maybe one more question, and it a little bit relates to what you just said. But I guess I can't help wondering how we can generalize and expand what you're doing, and possibly in schools as well as in cities, so in architecture schools specifically. So if this is okay with you, I want to read something that you have written and ask whether it might be a manifesto that we could read into your work, that you're advocating more widely. And so you've written in the past, in the current world, human beings have been falling in the trap of technology. City life and technology have made human beings disconnected from nature, which has further led to the mental disorders of society. In particular, there are many problems modern man is facing. People are deeply sunken into the internet community, which is threatening their spirit. And then you go on to say, plants on buildings harmonize the living environment, which positively affects the human mind. So could we read this, not only as maybe a description of your work, but as a, more proactively as a manifesto for the world and the human condition?
Yes, that's why we have the war everywhere in the world. Because when you see for example, in the airport, people try to just focus on their cell phone, no connect to each other, no connect to the nature anymore. Then they feel unstable, and that's why conflict everywhere and misunderstanding. And then I think the architecture and itself, it has to be a device for the people to connect to the nature. I think so. Otherwise, I think in the New York City, when I go to the downtown, it's crazy traffic jam. I cannot go back on time and then get out the taxi and go by a subway to go back. Then I think the society now is only how much money we can earn and the number. I mean, the developing or the undeveloped or something like that. And then they disconnect from the nature. And then that is the big problem with that now, or not only in Vietnam, but everywhere in the world. Then that's why we are conflict all the time and have the war everywhere in the world. Yes.
And then I guess my last follow-up thought is, so I guess the deceptively simple idea is that architecture can actually play a big role.
Yes.
In the solution to the problem. It's again very different from what we often say, at places like this school that, architecture is powerless, there's nothing we can do, the problems are too big for us. So again, I think a really refreshing perspective.
I think architecture and urban design now in Vietnam is playing really big role, a big impact to the society, because it really bad situation. Then that architect can do something to change that. Yes.
And then so the very last thing. What about the education of architects? How can that fit into the manifesto and the argument? Should we be learning how to be architects differently? Should master's programs be different? Should there be different foundation?
For me, I think the best way to learn architecture is architecture and meditation at the same time.
That is beautiful.
Because if you can keep calm and then your mind, your body can connect to the nature, and you will know what should we do. I think so.
That's brilliant.
Honestly, now we have more than 50 projects because I handle also small house, but I don't spend time to think. Just keep calm and I don't spend time to think. Like the last bamboo project, this one, I just the chicken, cái rò úp ga gọi là gì? Chicken, for the chicken, keeping the chicken inside this scallop, and that we have this one. Really? And then I take that to show the client, how about this? And they say yes, and then we go this one. Really? And just spend 5 minutes for this one.
So let's see, are there questions from the audience? Does anyone have a next question?
Hello, thank you very much. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
I do remember in your Al Jazeera documentary, you had a problem with a private developer and you're trying to convince them about an environmental aspect in the project, but then negotiations went nowhere. And I am interested to see if there's a change now, or there will be maybe, when it comes to private investments, and how can you bring this environmental aspect to the project, but convince them that it's for, it's for their own sake of, of business and the society. Will we see that change, or do you think economy, or let's say capital investments, is not going with environment, or it's going to use it as a advertisement to bring even more money, that we are, green building and we are environmental?
Yes, that is really a big problem when we have to convince the client. But like, for example, the house for tree or the stacking greenhouse, first I have to do it for free. Then I talk to client is, if I do for you for free, let me do for free, like a free of design. Then you should not
Interfere.
no idea. We just let Earth free to do our design. Then that's why we can realize that kind of house first. Then next is we also convinced to do huge project like campus university, and they talk about how we can maintain, how we can build, who will handle the building, and also the big apartment we make the like vertical forests for them. And then but at the end that is really easy for sale. I mean the apartment or the master plan with the green, and then I'm telling you that is at the end the profits is together. Then the client easy to sell. Then they add Earth to do more and more. And because of the university successful, and then now we are doing like 2 more campus of university. Then yes, the first project is really hard to convince, but honestly, before we have the company 9 years, first 6 years almost no project can be built, especially in Vietnam society. They don't accept our design, but after doing meditation, I am more calm really, and have enough energy to convince them how good it is. And then now the building we can build is a lot. Yeah, please.
I'm from India.
Yes.
And I also have to meditate because you don't have fees.
Hi, my name is Makran Booth, and I have an office here in New York and also in India. I come from Central India. My question is about bamboo, which is fundamental to your work. We also have a lot of bamboo in Central India, and we struggle with it because the quality, even though we have a lot of bamboo, the quality of it is not that good. It is, when you actually have it, the length and the width and, to use it structurally, workmanship, there are lots of issues. We continue to work with it. So I would like to ask you in the beginning, when you started to work with it, to make it architectural, to make it structural, what kind of explorations and what kind of process you went through?
You mean is how to start to design the bamboo?
Yeah, bamboo, because when you see it as a finished structure, it all looks great. But when it comes and then you have to really prepare it, could you sort of tell a little bit about that?
Before going to Japan, I was like a farmer in a rural area, so I really familiar with the bamboo, and then I know how to treat the bamboo without to have the long life without insect. Then it just put into the river or the lake 3 or 4 months. Then after that, smoke it in 1 month. Then you have the black bamboo like this, and you can use at least 30 years, I think so. So to treatment is not big problem. But for the bamboo, I think the connection and the joint, but the way I am using the bamboo joining is really simple. That is continue connect like this. We don't use steel joining, because if we use a steel joint, it costly a lot of money. Then it's better to use timber, not bamboo. Then that's why you can see we use really simple connection. But when I was in Japan, I designed the timber building. Then the most challenges is we have to make that at factory, and then assembling at the site to ship that by truck. Then I know the way how to do the unit of bamboo and put it together to control the quality is the most important thing. Is it good for you, the answer?
Yeah, that's fantastic actually, what you've been explaining.
Yeah.
One of the other things which I noticed is that is really fantastic, what you said about, putting into the water and smoking. One of the other thing which I didn't notice, which is mats of bamboo, making other products, instead of, beyond using bamboo as a pole, but also making the mats and a lot of different things which actually go with the mats and the splitting, etc.
You mean about the manufacturer?
Yes.
Yes. For example, now I am doing the exhibition in Tokyo. I'm doing the big pavilion in the center of Tokyo, and then I just have 3 weeks to build. 3 weeks, almost like to do the building in 3 weeks. But we need to design making a machine, then put it together, shipping from Vietnam and put it together. And I just sent there 3 workers with 1 architect, and the rest is the student. But we can realize that kind of bamboo structure, but like a machine, like manufacture at the factory and assembling at the site. And you can see carefully how, for example, the bar, the dome is made by unit, and just put it together.
Actually, my question was not about manufacturing, but the mesh.
Mesh.
If you look at this structure, it's a dome, which is a structural architectural
this
expression.
mesh.
Yeah, but
I told you this is close to the
like
office.
the basket,
Yeah.
the bamboo basket.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, lot of craft goes into it. And so actually my question was about that. I'm sorry, I'm asking so many questions. I really apologize.
Oh, okay, that is, I told you at the beginning, is close to my office. Then that's why I try to use do the mesh, not the unit like the other one. You mean the manpower for that, right? This one? Okay, next please.
I think there are a couple of more questions. There's one over here.
Okay, it's okay. Cảm ơn em. Cho qua đây để nói tiếp.
Hi. You mentioned that you spent 6 years sort of toiling in obscurity and trying to get work in Vietnam. And so can you elaborate on sort of the evolution of Vietnamese society and sort of maybe construction practices, and why it took so long to, have Vietnamese society accept these designs?
Because a bit difficult. Our design a bit different to what they think about the architecture.
Yeah.
I think so. And then until now in the university, they still teaching that is our office is do not good design. Then that's why now in Ho Chi Minh office we have 50 to 60% of the staff is foreigner, not Vietnamese. Because the Vietnamese education, they still talk about our architect is not right way, is wrong, or something like that. Until now, then I think they need time to accept our design like that way. Yes.
Thank you.
Hi, I read an article today about your next project. It's 3 towers connected by bridges and a lot of bamboo involved. Can you
Yes.
maybe talk a little bit about what it will be and how big it is and that kind of stuff?
I don't have that slide here, but the project was the 3 tower already fixed. We cannot change our light, and we cannot change the area. We cannot change the shape of the building anymore, but we change the facade and try to plan as much as tree for the people living in that. That is really simple. I think that really simple apartment. Yes. You saw that on design?
I read it online today. Yeah.
Yes, really.
How tall is it? How tall is the building?
22 floor with 3 tower, and all they fix the outside of the building. We cannot change, but we change to make the green facade and to realize every room in the apartment with light and greenery around. That is our target. Yes. Please.
What did you learn studying in Japan? I mean, I think it's sort of unusual for a Vietnamese student to go to Japan, and obviously it showed a certain attitude on your part. What did you expect to learn there, and what did you end up learning there?
You mean before going to Japan, what I expect, and then what did I learn in Japan? I had great professor in Japan, and he teach me even something that he cannot do. Like, like he asked me to learn about the structure and to present to the structure professor about what I understand about the structure. That's why I really like really difficult structure. And at the end, I really like the timber building in Japan. And then he said, but you need to do the air ventilation. That he never know about how to calculate, but he asked me to calculate. So that is why I still really respect him, that he teach me about what thing he even don't know very well. And I think the Japanese university also really good education. Especially my professor give me a freedom to do what I want to do. Then I always almost 100% absent from university. Then the other professor asked where is Nghia, And then my professor said that is let he free to do what he want to do. And then some professor, and then at the end of the thesis, when I want to do the ventilation, and I go to the ventilation lab, and then they said that, where were you? Or 2 years, and then I do the timber building, but they don't know about that, and that is fine. And I think Japan is a lot of nature, and I learn a lot of them from the way they respect the nature and the way they are doing the architecture and with the traditional and the modern way. I think so. Yes.
Let's take one or two more questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Almost. Okay. I just want to congratulate for your conference. I also study in Tokyo, and I was lucky because when I was at the University of Tokyo, I was studying Hanoi for some project made by Kojima and Magaribuchi Lab. And they studied the 36th district, old district, and I was really amazed. And it was a very long research, almost 10 years, until they were able to build something, but not on site as they wish, but in another place. I was really amazed about these typologies that were almost 80 meters long, even more radical. I just wanted to say that, of course, I think there is some Japanese also sensibility according to your way of being, and also respecting nature and the way you work with materials. And also I find some Japanese sense in some points, but also, of course, Vietnamese ones. If you had the chance, I don't know, to deal with these complex sites of not 40, but even 80 meters long housing that actually is very related to Vietnamese way of living, I think probably doing contemporary architecture probably should be thought a new way of how Vietnamese people should live in a contemporary environment, but also with their way of understanding what is living and residence. Have you thought about how this transition from traditional way of living to contemporary way of living through your architecture can be? Have you thought of this dueling new way of understanding or this new way of residence?
Yes, in fact, we have the site, like you said, not 80 meter, but like 50, or we design a house in Hanoi, the old district, with 2.5 meter and 33 meter length. And the same what you are talking about. But we still convince them to do the house for three. Of course, we need to keep the traditional there, with many people living in that kind of house. But I think next presentation I will do, and I know very well Professor Kojima. Then we, I also influenced by him the way of doing the traditional and modern design about that, and he used the space block or something like that to do the ventilation, and I think the traditional is really good because we didn't have the electricity before, so we don't have the air conditioning, even no fans. Then they still can good life in that way of living. Then we need to use that kind of the way of doing architect and thinking to the modern way. I think so. Yes.
Let's take one more question.
One more question.
I saw one in the back that's been up for a long time.
Hi, welcome to GSAPP. I'm very proud to see you here because I'm a Vietnamese student at GSAPP too. And it's really nice to see your name on the poster, so this is why I'm here. Questions for you. So for me, I mean for students, like other students too, if we want to go to Vietnam and do architecture, so what's going to be your advice to start like our own firm, or like how to like initiate like our thinking and make people change their mind, especially in Vietnam, like a very conservative country like that. So what do you think? Like, what's your advice for?
I think Vietnam now you have a lot of things to do. So a lot of work. The best place for architect to make architecture. You know what I mean? Even something difficult, but for example, designer house, you have huge amount of clients to do a house or the other project. Is it okay for you? The answer. Yes. The answer is what is you should advise you, right? I should advise you, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, what your advice for like recent like graduate students to should they come back and start their own firm, or should I
just go and make the architecture? A lot of work is waiting for you.
Well, thank you very much.